would it have just been better if they had done what the Baltimore football team had done and said, pack it up in the middle of the night and a clandestine, just nobody knows about it, secret, hey, we moved to Vegas, neat story, here we go. Would that have been better, or would that have been more scarring?
Usually, I think when you're trying to pull a fast one, isn't the key part of that pulling a fast one?
This is not fast.
No, and that's the point is like the longer this drags on, the more details, the more time exists for idiots like myself to wait a second, what? That can't be right. And so again, I think, and let me be very clear about this. You know, people in Oakland are so convinced, based on what they know and the plans that have been laid out, they're so convinced that someday they will be proven right, and that Oakland was a better option, and that there were opportunities here, and that Las Vegas still has a lot of questions. I'm not saying Las Vegas is impossible. It's kind of like what Paul Sewald said on your guys' show not too long ago, that just under these circumstances, I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work out. But nobody in Oakland wants to say, I told you so in 7 years, when they also just lost their team. There's going to be no reward in saying, yep, I was right, but oh yeah, we lost the team.
In the next 40 years, are you still going to be an A's fan?
Oh man, that's a hard question to start with. For me, it's personal and it's professional. And I think, quite honestly, if it was just the personal side already, I might have been done with this. Honestly,
Yeah.
It's the professional side and the curiosity and the fascination with this process, the frustration with this process that's kept me into it on an everyday basis. And by the way, I cover it on my YouTube channel on a daily basis. I want to give you guys a ton of thanks and credit for staying in on this story and all the angles and developments. I mean, you guys have a big national platform and it's growing, and I just to see others also putting attention to it, I give you guys a lot of credit.
So what are we
Thank you,
missing?
Brody. We appreciate that. Yeah, go ahead, Kratz.
What are we missing? I appreciate you saying that, because being on this show, being a ex-player, being on the East Coast, I will admit I am so ignorant to this topic until we started doing this show in March, because all I've ever watched is the networks and the media outlets that really don't they do whatever they can to not disseminate any of the Oakland A's. So all that I've learned in the last year, 10 months that we've been on this show, I feel like I'm still missing things because I'm not out there. So what are we missing?
The devil is in the details. And I think the national media, it's not their fault, but they have so much to focus on. And actually, like when I was out in Nashville at winter meetings, I guess about a month ago, and talking to the Matt Vasgersians of the world and John Morosi's, and I'm trying to get their take and say, well, what is the national perspective? How do you guys see this? And they're like, well, obviously people love Vegas. They love the idea of anybody going to Vegas, like a vacation or a baseball team. It doesn't matter to them. But then when we actually start to get into the weeds and all of the kind of the loose ends that exist about this plan, this process, I don't think anybody's here to say, and I know, Scott, you've talked about it on this show, nobody is overwhelmingly against the idea of Major League Baseball in Las Vegas. It's just that under these circumstances, with these plans and this process, and in a situation where it's time to show the math, like we literally have baseball and the owners unanimously approving this relocation. And I thought, at least on November 16th, that, okay, here the details would all spill out. They'd all become public. We still don't know how they're going to put a ballpark on 9 acres in the back parking lot of the Tropicana Hotel. We still don't know how they really are going to rely on tourists to sell out the stadium for projected 30 straight years. I kid you not, 30 straight years of sellouts. They don't have an interim home of 3 seasons after this upcoming one at the Coliseum. There's no language of private financing, how that's going to work, cost overruns. Like, nobody just has $1.2 billion sitting on a table ready to go. And then last but not least, the whole media market size. I mean, you guys know baseball's in a weird spot already with RSNs and the rights deals. And they're going from one of the, top 5-7 markets in the country to 40. So anyway, to sum it all up, and I think fans in Oakland, they're already frustrated enough by potentially losing their baseball team. But when you lose it under those circumstances and so many questions that don't have answers, I think that's the toughest part to take right now.
Do you think that this team should be called the Vegas A's? Because it seems like they are so firm on that and think that the brand of the A's will help them. Decisions are all made for money, especially in our sport, right? This isn't just an Oakland thing. Like, MLB is a money-hungry group. That's no secret. This is a business, okay? So the decisions are made because they say, Brody, we're going to be the A's. That'll make us more money, that branding, right? They'll still be Oakland fans. I think they're fucking wrong. I think that they should be called the Vegas something else, and that will feel like it's a fresher, new thing in Oakland, or in Vegas, I should say, for the fan base, even if it isn't a different organization. And I know they were even fighting with the city already about that, where Oakland, the city, wants to keep the name the A's in case they ever get a new team. Why are they so obsessed with keeping that name? I think that's a massive mistake.
I think actually, Scott, as much as we agree that baseball's about money, I actually think that they are trying to connect themselves to history and something that's existed. And I think, I mean, you know, the A's name dates back to literally, 1901. I actually think it's more of a preservation of history that they're worried about, you know, not only moving this team, but then eliminating a name that's been around for 120 plus years. Again, that's my instinct on this. Because you're right. What is the benefit of keeping the A's name in Las Vegas? I also, last night when we were texting, by the way, I covered the San Jose Sharks. I do the same thing, their pre and post game show. And so I've watched the Vegas Golden Knights emerge in the last 6-7 years. And that's the one thing about every time I've been to Vegas, it's very clear they love that team because it's theirs. It was given to them. It was an expansion team. They got so fortunate with their draft. By the way, they are not the prototypical expansion team by any means. They've already won a Stanley Cup in 6 years. They've been there twice to the final in 6 years. They got fortunate with the way the NHL works in its draft. But people are misled by that down there. They think that success is instant, that the A's will also have that success. They also look at the A's name and say, well, that's not ours. That's existed in Philly, Kansas City, Oakland, and it would be the first team, right, to have the same name across 4 cities. I don't think they want Oakland's and Kansas City's and Philly's leftovers. I really don't. I actually think that's a turnoff to them down there. And so, again, it's amazing to me that, you know, in all of the things that have been expressed, people in Oakland want to keep the name. People in Las Vegas don't really want the name. And yet, you're right. The team is insistent on, nope, we're actually doing this. We're bringing Stomper down with us, too.